Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to show a day in the life of what my 9-month-old eats in a day. And I want to preface by saying this might not be what your child eats in a day, and that is perfectly fine. Every child is different. Every parent has a different preference on how they want to introduce solids to their child, and that is perfectly fine. I am a registered dietitian and I do work in WIC, which is in Women, Infant, and Children, and so I talk about this kind of thing every single day at my job, and then I come home and I put it into practice with my own child. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, because I feel very comfortable in doing this just because, you know, I do it at work and I also do it at home now. I do want to preface by saying that when you are watching the footage of what Hudson is eating in a day, it is going to look like a lot of food. And it is. Like, it doesn't just look like it. It actually is a lot of food. Some people, when they're over and they see Hudson eating, they are like, wow, that's more food than I actually eat. And that might look like that's true, but he really doesn't eat of it at all. He will maybe eat a third of that, if not like a quarter of the food that I provide. Most of the time, I mean, he's playing with it, putting it in his mouth. He likes to put it on the floor, and so we try and save as much, you know, take it out of his bib, put it back on the table, so it's not a waste. But he does like to put it on the floor, and we have a Bernese Mountain Dog who loves this stage of life and is just sitting at his feet on the floor waiting for those scraps to fall on the floor. So he truly does not eat all of this, but it is important for him to get those different flavors, those different textures, and just play with the food. It's just better, and now when he's young, to play with all of those different textures, flavors, all of that. So that when he gets older, he's less likely to be picky, which we do not want a picky child when it comes to eating. And the reason I am not worried that he is not actually consuming a lot of the food that I provide him is because before one, he's not really getting nutrition from anything other than the breast milk that we provide. So I'm really not worried that he's not getting enough nutrition, he's not getting enough calories throughout the day, because he still drinks quite a bit of breast milk every day, and again, you will see that today. So don't stress if your baby is not eating right away, if they are just, you know, not interested. It's a big change for them. They are only, you know, 6 months, 7 months old when they start solids. They've only had breast milk up until then, so a liquid, and now they're going to different textures, tastes, you know, flavors, different like warmths of things, like cold or hot. So give them a break. I had to tell myself this because I literally tell people at work, I, you know, educate them on they're not going to eat right away, but it's still okay for them to, you know, have everything in their mouth, touch everything, be messy with the food. Yet when Hudson was going through this, I struggled because I was worried, you know, he wasn't actually eating and I was doing a terrible job. But once they get familiar and once they get comfortable to it, you know, and they feel safe and everything, and they're going to come around and they're going to start eating. And that is exactly what happened to Hudson. He kind of flipped a switch randomly and he started eating. He didn't start eating like actual food, like actually putting it in his mouth and swallowing, until like 7.5, 8 months old. So it took a little bit, but now he eats pretty well. One thing that I do hear from parents at work is that their child doesn't like the food. They try it once and their child just doesn't like the food. That is not correct. Can you imagine trying, you know, again, just drinking breast milk and then trying a new food and it's just being a weird texture and you just don't know how to think about it, you know, or what to think about it. They say that it takes like 10 to 15 times of that to try that same food over and over again for you to actually know if you like it or not. So if your child does not like broccoli, one, try it in a different like consistency. So maybe you do want to mash it, maybe you do want to cook it even more, maybe you do want to flavor it a little bit or add something to it to change it. But the child needs to have that repeated over and over again, to make sure that they actually like don't like that item, because most likely than not it's just because it's a different texture and they're trying to get used to it, and it's not because they don't like it. So like I said at the beginning, we are trying to do the baby-led weaning. We bought the course from Katie Ferraro. She's actually a registered dietitian, so I felt extremely comfortable having her course and going step by step and learning how to do this new adventure with her. I have just heard so many beneficial things with it. It is like a newer thing, so I did have to like teach my mom and my mother-in-law how to do it, just because they were used to, you know, just like rice cereal and just like pureed foods right away, and they didn't even think about like table foods until like 9 months old. So yeah, it's like a learning thing for all of us, but now he just picks up like a cooked broccoli or cooked carrot and he does perfectly fine, and everybody's always amazed by that. Baby-led weaning is supposed to help infants learn to safely consume food and also help them build healthy habits and safe habits and intentional habits with food. And we all kind of want that for our child, don't we? I know, like, growing up, things were different. You were always told to finish your food, finish your plate. But now we've learned, there's a lot of research on that, where that's not what we actually want to teach our child. I could go in a whole nother video about that. But with baby-led weaning, you put the food on the plate for them and then they pick it up and put it in their mouth. So you're not like spoon feeding them and kind of not listening to their internal hunger cues. That is all of them. They are eating when they're hungry. You're not force feeding them. That is like one area behind the baby-led weaning. Another thing is that it helps with their oral motor skills. So, you know, just like chewing of these foods, even if they don't have teeth, that's perfectly fine. The gums are still pretty hard that they can chomp down on things like cooked broccoli, or Hudson's other favorite food is strawberries. So we give him a whole strawberry and he grabs it and then he like gnaws on it and he gets all of that juice, and sometimes he gets some of the like actual strawberry, but again, that's helping with his oral motor skills. With the baby-led weaning, Katie has 100 first foods by 1 year old, so that has actually been pretty fun. There's like a sheet that you get with the course, and it has all of these different 100 foods that you want to have them experience before their first birthday. And a lot of the food, it's just great, because some of the things I wouldn't have even thought of to give him, but yeah, like crab, lobster, beans, certain kinds of rice, fruits, vegetables obviously, but just a lot of different things with a lot of different textures, flavors, and the hope is, again, that they're not going to be picky when they get older and they're able to, you know, swallow food safely, and all of that fun stuff. Hudson usually eats what we eat, and sometimes if there's not vegetables, because my husband is not a vegetable lover, which we are working on with him, so that Hudson doesn't see that my husband doesn't like it. But like teriyaki hot dishes or like spaghetti or stuff like that, he will eat and he does perfectly fine with it. And then we add like peas, carrots, corn, then we add some fruit, and then, you know, like make sure the pasta is whole grain. So we try to make it like a, you know, well-rounded, well-balanced meal for him. And I will say it has gotten us to eat healthier too, so that's a bonus. He is now using his pincer grasp, which is so fun to watch. So sometimes it's like you want to like help him pick up the food just because it's so hard to watch. But now instead of like palming things to grab it, you know, or with two hands, he can use his little pincer grasp and pick up like peas or corn, just little things, and it is the cutest thing. So I love watching him eat. He is also working on drinking from a straw cup, which is going really well. Again, we use that honey bear. I'll try and insert a picture if I can remember, but that helps them, like you can press it, like squeeze it, and then stuff comes through the milk or water that you're giving them, and it just gets them used to like knowing, oh, I am supposed to suck if I want something out of this. And honestly, it worked like magic. So now we have like any straw cup, even like ours, like water bottles that have straws, he'll drink out of. So that's been really cool for him to like use something other than a baby bottle. We're obviously still drinking from a baby bottle, and I know I want to try and wean him off of that, because I know that by 1 year old we do, at WIC at least, we recommend them not using a baby bottle anymore just because it can affect their teeth. So that is our next goal, is to work on drinking from like milk out of like a straw cup or a regular cup, so that it doesn't affect his beautiful teeth that are coming in. I believe he has like 4 now. He has 2 on the bottom for sure, and then 1 or 2 are popping through. Every day it gets like a little more like pushed through, so I don't know. Mealtime, it definitely can be very messy and sometimes frustrating, just because if you're in a rush or you don't want to do bath time because he's all messy, that is so normal, and it's okay to feel like frustrated and overwhelmed and all of the above. Just know how great it is that he is able to eat those foods, and he's thriving off of feeding himself, and he's feeling like a big kid, and getting messy and feeling all of those different textures and everything is just going to help him in the long run. One last thing before we get into what he ate today is the high chair that he's in is the Trip Trap high chair. Again, I will put a link below and I'll insert a picture here. I was looking for one that, you know, had him sitting up at a 90-degree angle, and that had his feet, like had a footrest for him. So those two things help with their safety, so it helps stabilize their core and helps them swallow safer. I will say Hudson is probably one of the messiest eaters I have ever seen, and so that is the one downside of this particular high chair, is that the food can get into like the nooks and crannies and just get so messy. I'm so embarrassed by our high chair. I try and clean it every single time he eats, but it just gets in those cracks, so that is the one downside. I know there are some other brands that are the same concept. I just don't know if they clean easier, but I would recommend that. Recently, Hudson has been sleeping through the night. That is a big yay. He just started doing that not that long ago, so he's been going to bed at like 7-ish, maybe a little later, and then waking up about 7-ish. So he's been doing really, really good. Once he wakes up, the first thing we do, you know, is change him, get him up, put him on the floor, have him play for maybe like 10 minutes while I either make him eggs or, you know, make up his breakfast. And then once we get that ready, he's ready to eat. So right away we eat, and that's just kind of because he goes to daycare a couple days during the week, and we leave pretty early, so we try and wake him up, feed him a little bit right away. So we're just trying to keep up the schedule the same. So at 7:30 he ate some eggs with cottage cheese. That cottage cheese seriously adds so much protein to the eggs. And then it also adds like a cheesy, like salty flavor to the eggs. I highly recommend. I was skeptical at first, but after I tried it, I will never go back to the regular way again. He also had some avocado, which are a source of healthy fats, and then some unsweetened applesauce with some strawberries cut up on top. I also put this oat and quinoa blueberry bar with plain Greek yogurt on there for him. That's like a whole grain. I'm trying to get that into his diet just because it has fiber and helps him stay regular. We are also working on that straw cup, like I said, so we put some tap water in there and he enjoys a few sips of that. He feels like a real big boy, I feel like, when he takes sips out of it. It is so cute. As you can see, he got the fruits, vegetables, grains, and protein all in this meal for breakfast. It is tricky to show how much he eats versus how much he drops because of Oakley, our Bernese mountain dog, who picks up everything. Hudson drops right away, so that is the downside. If we're not just like sitting there watching him completely, we don't know how much he's actually eating. We're always watching him, but sometimes we have to stand back like a couple feet and pretend we're doing something else because he gets distracted and he wants to try feeding you and he wants to try feeding Oakley. But if we step back and we're not sitting there with him, then he eats better. I truly don't know why. And after this, we played with some toys, and then Hudson was like extra tired this morning, so he was ready for his first nap around 8:45. I got a bottle of my pumped breast milk ready for him, and I rocked him to sleep. He ate about 8 ounces of that bottle. He took about an hour and a half nap, which was great, from 9 to 10:30. This day we went out to shop for a little bit with my mom, and he got a bit hungry, so I gave him about 4 ounces of breast milk. I didn't show that picture. When we got home, we ate lunch about 12:30. He had whole wheat pasta with marinara, meatballs, peas, clementines, cauliflower with hummus, and some water. As you can see, I like to give him a wide variety of food. And again, he will definitely not eat all of this. At around 1:15, it was time for his second nap of the day. So he drank 7 ounces of breast milk and slept for about an hour from 1:30 to 2:30. At around 4:15, he was ready for his third nap. This nap is either hit or miss, so I was kind of glad that he wanted to take it. He drank 6 ounces of milk and slept till about 5:30. He then had supper at 6. He had imitation crab with plain Greek yogurt, cauliflower, broccoli, carrot mix, melon and strawberry mix, and water. Then about 7, he got ready for bed. He drank about 8 ounces of milk and was asleep by 7:30. We are working on slowly decreasing the amount of bottles that he gets a day, just because he is starting to eat more solid foods. We're slowly trying to decrease that amount of breast milk that he's drinking. I wouldn't say he's actually eating a lot of food right now, so when the time comes that we can kind of notice that he's starting to eat more, like actually eat more, then we'll start to decrease his bottles. I hope you enjoyed this type of video. I hope to do more videos like this in the future. So fun to look back on. Thank you so much. Bye.